Hey guys, it's Miss Ellison. Happy Monday. I hope you have a good Monday, and I hope you behave well and you do everything that you're supposed to do. Today we're going to be talking about metric length, and if you remember from last week, we were talking about customary units of measurement, which is the units that we use here in the U.S. So this week we're going to be talking about metric, and metric is what scientists use, metric is what people overseas use. And so these are all going to be our meters, our liters, and our grams. So for length, we already know that length is how long something is, or like a distance from one place to another. And our smallest unit of measurement for metric length is millimeters. And they are saying that millimeters is about the thickness of a dime. And so if you look here, hopefully it'll focus. But a dime is not that thick, so millimeters are really tiny. There we go. Then next comes our centimeter, which is about the width of your pinky. Right here. Then we have a meter, which is going to be a giant step. If you see, I wrote yard under here because a yard was also like a giant step when we were talking about customary. So if you think about yard, a yard and a meter are going to be very similar. And then our biggest unit of measurement is kilometer. And a kilometer is like a car trip. And we also said miles were like car trips of the customary units. So these are going to be the 4 units of measurement that we are going to work on today. Now, you're going to get out a piece of construction paper, and you are going to make your foldable just like we did for customary. So you're going to get your construction paper. You're going to fold it in half, long ways, like this. And then you're going to split your paper into 3 equal sections. And you're going to leave these 2 blank for right now, because we'll talk about this whenever I come back. And you're only going to fill in the top flap, which is going to say metric length. Remember, you can pause this video at any time. While you're working, you're getting your foldable done, or you're copying anything down, please feel free to pause the video so it doesn't keep going and you don't miss any important information. And then you can continue and you can hit play. So remember, we're only worrying about metric length for today. Now, our conversion rules. Now, I'm going to talk to you about this side whenever I come back on Tuesday as well. It's going to be another way that we're going to convert in the metric measurement system. But for right now, I just want you to copy down the conversion rules for metric length. You can also find this information on your star chart. So this week we learned nothing but customary, or last week we learned nothing but customary, I'm sorry, and this week we are talking about the metric side, and so we're going to be focusing right here on metric length. So remember, in metric, M stands for meters, not miles. So go ahead and make sure that you have this filled out because I want you to use it while you're working on your practice problems. Okay, when you are done with your foldable, you're going to get out your math journal, put today's date, title it metric length. And if you remember from our mini anchor chart, we know a millimeter is about a thickness of a dime. I want you to think, and you're going to see a question pop up on the video, I want you to think which one of these other answer options would also be close or similar to a millimeter. And if you answered that question, I want you to go ahead and fill it in right here in this blank as another example of a millimeter. Now, if you remember, our next biggest unit is a centimeter. And a centimeter, we said, is the width of our pinky. So now, when you see the question pop up, you're going to pick another example that might be the same as a centimeter, and you're going to record it right here. Then our next biggest unit is a meter, which we said is a giant step. And now you're going to pick another example that might be similar to a meter. After you answer and you get it correct, you're going to put it right here in this blank. And then lastly, our biggest unit of measurement is kilometer, which you said is like a car trip. Again, answer your question of what another example of a kilometer might be, and then put it right here as another example. Once you finish with that, we are going to move on to our conversion practice. So I'm going to give you a word problem. And we are going to practice converting it. And we are going to use the exact same strategy that we were using last week. So our word problem is going to be on Thursday. The Marathon Club ran 3 kilometers all together. How many meters did the Marathon Club run? Now, if you remember from last week, our very first step is to find the units of measurement that we're working in between. So I see 3 kilometers, and then I see my question is asking me to change that or to convert it into meters. So after we find our 2 units, who can remember what the next thing that we do is? I hope that you said we create our conversion table, and if you did, then you are 100% correct. We are going to make our table. And here we are going to put our very first unit that they give us, which is kilometers. And then in our last column, we are going to put the unit that we are expected to convert it to, which is meters. And in the middle, we already know to do our rule. So after we create our table, what do we do next? Awesome. We have to write and identify the rule that we know between kilometers and meters. And we are going to find that in 2 different places. Who can remember what 2 places or where we can find the rule between kilometers and meters? If you said your star chart, you are correct. And if you said our foldable, you are also correct. So we are going to look right here, and we're going to see that 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Meters? 1,000 meters. So when my number is getting bigger, I'm going to multiply. And I'm going to multiply by 1,000. So I'm going to plug in my rule here. Now, after we plug in the rule that I know for my foldable, what do I have to plug in next right here? Yes, I am plugging in my information from the word problem. So the Marathon Club ran 3 kilometers. And now I have my equation, 3 times 1,000. And 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 kilometers is the same as 3,000 meters. So hopefully this is just a review for you because we are using the exact same strategy that we used last week. Okay, we are going to do one more practice problem, and it's going to be similar to the ones that we did on Friday where we have to create 2 tables. Okay, so we are going to say that the distance from Miss Ellison's desk and the door is about 3 meters. How many millimeters is the desk from the door? So remember, the first thing we need to do is identify our 2 units of measurement. I see 3 meters that we have to change to millimeters. So when we're deciding whether we have to use 1 table or 2 tables, you have to look at your foldables and ask yourself first, do I have a conversion rule that takes me from meters to millimeters? Well, I see meters to centimeters and centimeters to millimeters, but I don't see meters to millimeters. So in that case, I'm going to have to do 1 table and 2 tables until I get to millimeters. So my first conversion has to take me from meters to centimeters before I go all the way to millimeters. So meters, centimeters, rule. And as you guys have told me before, the very first thing that we need to do is write the rule from our foldable. So I have 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. My rule is times 100 times 100. And now I'm going to plug in what I know from my word problem. 3. 3 meters and 100 times 3 is 300 centimeters. So is this in the unit that my question is asking me to find? No, it is not. So I have to make 1 more table. So now I'm going to create a table that takes me from centimeters to millimeters. But now, because this is my second table, I'm going to pull my information from my last table. So again, I'm going to look for my rule. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. 10 millimeters. This time my rule is times 10. And now I'm going to plug in the information that I know. Well, I'm not going to find it up here because I've already converted 3 meters. I'm going to find it right here for my last table. So I'm going to put 300 And now it's 300 times 10. Well, if you remember, anytime we multiply a number by 10, all we're doing is adding a 0 at the end. So 300 times 10 is 3,000 millimeters. And millimeters matches the unit that I want to be in, so this is my answer. The desk is 3,000 millimeters from the door. Now remember, some of you, I was talking to you today, and we were seeing some problems where we might have to divide. I think it was ounces and pounds. This is where I was seeing it the most. So 16 and 1 divide by 16. You don't need to write this down. This is just a little reminder for you guys. So if your rule does come to division, and I believe the problem was this. Remember, we don't learn in 4th grade how to divide by 2-digit numbers. But we do know that the opposite of division is multiplication. So instead of doing 64 divided by 16 equals however many pounds, write your fact families. X times 16 equals 64. And then just start plugging in some of the numbers. You can start with 2, you can start with 5, and then you can go from there until you get to your answer for 64. And then that's your answer that you're looking for. So don't get overwhelmed by division. There's always a way around it. And we can always multiply, but you have to remember your fact families and how you're going to rearrange your work. Okay, so you're going to get a couple more questions on the video. I want you to do your work in your journal, and I'm going to check it on Tuesday when we come back. When you are done with your foldable, your journal, and the other questions in this video, I have some bookwork that I've scheduled for you guys. Ms. Martin will write it up on the board so you know what pages that I want you to do, and they should just be a little bit of a review from last week and then continuing on to this week with some metric length. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. I'll be back on Tuesday, and I know I'm going to get a wonderful report, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.